Good morning. My name is Shakir Rahim, Director of the Criminal Justice Program for the Canadian Civil Liberties Association, and I'm joined today by Yusuf Faqiri, the brother of Solomon Faqiri. Today, the CCLA, with the support of 35 national and provincial civil society organizations, sent a letter to the Solicitor General to call on the province to take action on the recommendations from the inquest into the death of Solomon Faqiri. 8 years ago, Solomon was taken to the Centre East Correctional Centre in Lindsay while in mental health distress. He was isolated for 11 days in a prison cell. He was denied adequate mental health care, and he did not make it out of jail alive. On the 11th day, correctional officers forced Solomon into a cell, struck and pepper-sprayed him, and left him handcuffed on the floor with a spit hood over his head, where he died. In 2023, a coroner's inquest ruled Solomon's death a homicide. The jury made 57 recommendations to prevent future deaths like his and improve mental health care for Ontario prisoners. And they called upon the province to establish an implementation committee to oversee those recommendations. Yet despite repeated pleas from Solomon's family and civil society organizations, the Solicitor General has not answered how or when the government will make the changes necessary to prevent future deaths, nor have they apologized for Solomon's death. Solomon's death reveals a truth that many may not want to hear. Inhumane treatment abounds in Ontario prisons. Deaths in custody have risen sharply. There are outbreaks of communicable diseases. Facilities are consistently overcrowded, and abusive treatment, like the recent mass strip search at the Maplehurst Correctional Complex, goes publicly unaddressed by the government. The crisis in Ontario prisons undermines the basic human dignity of those in custody, the vast majority of whom are waiting for their day in court and presumed innocent. Once released, they will leave with trauma that is likely to undermine their physical and mental health. And if they were convicted of an offense and are serving a sentence, that same trauma risks undermining their rehabilitation and reintegration into our communities. This is no way to treat a person, nor to protect a society. That is why today we call again for the province to respond to the recommendations from the Faqiri inquest, apologize to the Faqiri family, and urgently address the inhumane conditions in our prisons. I will now hand it off to Yusuf Faqiri, Solomon's brother.
Good morning, everybody. I don't want to be here today, but I'm forced to be here. Suleiman's tragic death is a story that affects all of us. His tragedy could have happened to a mother, to a brother, a sister. But we're here today because of the government's continued refusal, continued unresponsiveness into the inquest recommendations that, frankly, would serve as a blueprint, ladies and gentlemen, into transforming corrections. More than 16 months have passed since that coroner's inquest, and not one of those recommendations have been implemented, including the one with a simple public statement saying that individuals suffering from mental health challenges that should not be in jails, or the inspectorate that's calling for much needed accountability that experts have called, nor has it been implemented among the 57. To the Premier, I say this to you. You talk about protecting Ontarians and Canadians, but what about protecting vulnerable Ontarians and Canadians? What about protecting the Suleimans, the Yuplu Kuzano or the Ibrahim Alis. These are individuals that have lost their lives in the last year in 2024, suffering from mental health challenges. Solomon's tragedy is an opportunity for us to transform corrections. His tragedy could have been prevented. Mental illness is not a political issue. It is not a partisan issue. It is life and death. It is life and death. While his death has been painful for my family since he was tragically taken more than 8 years ago, my family will continue to stand for the most vulnerable. Not because we want to, but because we have to. Because we have no choice. Because of the refusal of being unresponsive to my family. Or issuing a public apology into Solomon's tragic death, that more than 8 years since his death, no one in your government has reached out to my family to issue an apology into his tragic death. The system that killed my late brother continues unchanged. Our work and this fight for change must continue and will continue. Our family, Premier, and the Solicitor General are ready to work with you, but engage with us. Engage with us through sincerity. We are willing to work with you, but not ignoring us. Because if you continue to ignore my family and experts that have literally served an indictment for your government's refusal to implementing these recommendations, including the CCLA, says to us that the system needs to change. We are ready to work with your government, but engage with us. We are ready to work with you. But if you continue to not engage with us and not be responsive of a system that continues to operate in an opaque way without transparency and accountability, we will fight. We will fight not just for Suleiman, but for Yupli Kuzano, for Ibrahim Ali, for Justin Saint-Amour, for Cass Geddes, for the Ashley Smiths, because these individuals they were vulnerable. They deserve better. Ontarians deserve better. Canadians deserve better. I give you this olive branch today to leave our door open to work with us. And if you do not want to work with us, we will continue to share Suleiman's story and continue to work until corrections is transformed. Make no mistake. Our pain for losing Suleiman is a pain that so many families share. Thank you very much.
Mr. Faqiri, you speak French?
Oui, je parle français.
Vous dites donc le gouvernement n'a pas du tout contacté votre famille dans les 16 mois depuis la sortie de l'enquête. Il n'y a rien qui a changé, aucun contact du tout?
Il n'y a aucun contact. Même en mai 2024, nous avons avec le député Kristen Wong-Tam, j'étais avec ma mère dans le Parlement ontarien et le solliciteur général, on a demandé une excuse publiquement. Il a dit rien. Depuis 16 mois, il n'y a aucune personne dans le gouvernement de l'Ontario qui a fait même déclaration de dire désolé, excusez, rien. Depuis 16 mois, ce qui est important, depuis 16 mois, il y a presque 46 personnes qui étaient mortes dans les différentes prisons en Ontario.
Et le procureur général, la dernière fois, avait dit qu'il ne s'excuserait pas parce que c'était arrivé sous l'ancien gouvernement, sous un gouvernement libéral. Qu'est-ce que vous répondez à ça?
Comme j'ai dit dans mon discours, le santé mentale, ce n'est pas un enjeu politique, ce n'est pas un enjeu partisan. C'est un enjeu entre la vie et la mort. Et c'est ça qui est important. Parce que vous êtes le gouvernement pour des Ontariens. C'est votre responsabilité de répondre devant tout le monde. Mais pourquoi utiliser le politique, de dire « OK, ce n'est pas notre faute ». Suleiman Faqiri, il est mort dans le système correctionnel. C'est eux qui sont le gouvernement. C'est ça le problème, de jouer le politique. Parce que le politique, maintenant, le cas de Suleiman Faqiri, ça n'a rien à voir avec le politique, à mon avis.
C'est quoi la suite pour vous? Ça fait plusieurs fois que vous demandez au gouvernement de faire des progrès sur les recommandations. Est-ce qu'il y a d'autres démarches que vous pouvez entamer, autre chose que vous pouvez faire?
La prochaine suite, je vais recontinuer jusqu'à la fin que le système de correctionnel transformé. Je n'ai pas le choix parce que pour moi, quand je parle devant tout le monde, c'est que je veux pas une maman, une mère, un père, un frère, une sœur qui a vécu une même histoire, une même tragédie comme ma famille. Parce que je n'ai pas un choix. Comme j'ai dit, je ne voulais pas parler devant tout le monde aujourd'hui, mais je n'ai pas le choix. Parce que le gouvernement a ignoré les recommandations. Ils n'ont pas parlé. Mais qu'est-ce que je dois faire? Parce que je ne peux pas laisser ça, parce que Suleiman, pour moi, c'est un frère. Je l'aimais beaucoup. Et je ne veux pas une autre famille qui a vécu dans la même difficile que ma famille. C'est ça qui est important. Et je n'ai pas le choix. Je ne veux pas parler devant tout le monde aujourd'hui. Je veux passer ma vie, mais je ne peux pas. Parce que ça me dérange que l'histoire de Suleiman, ça ne changeait pas le système.
And I'll ask this one in English so you can both respond. Last time we had an article out, I think in December, the government said that it was categorically false to say they were not implementing the recommendations. They maintain they are working on it. So what do you respond to that?
Well, I think it's critical that we know what it is they're actually doing. So a statement that recommendations are being implemented accompanied by no information about what steps have been taken or are intended to be taken rings hollow. And of course, the inquest itself, the recommendations, I think, envision that there would be some process or structure. That's why it suggested striking the implementation committee. But even that basic operational step has not been undertaken. So I think there has to be more information provided to the public, to the family of Solomon, for there to be credibility to a statement like that.
Yeah, just sharing what Mr. Rahim said. What is happening? We don't know what is the work. What work has been done with respect to these recommendations? Are they just going to continue to just let us continue in an opaque way, in the sense that not responding just by ignoring it? What have they done? Because we still don't know what they've done in these 16 months since the landmark inquest.
And I'm wondering, is there any... Of course, they've declined to press criminal charges several times. The inquiry is done. Is there any other judicial steps that you can take to force the government to act or to keep them to account?
Well, what I will certainly say is this. Suleiman's case is a tragedy, but it's a tragedy that is being repeated in many different examples in the criminal justice system and in the prison system. And so at some point, I think the possibility of litigation and more directed advocacy in that regard raises its head, because if the government is simply unwilling to act when people's basic dignity, human rights are being violated, that's one of the last tools that exists to make change. And of course, there are several ongoing lawsuits, for example, the class action with respect to overcrowding in facilities and so on. And I think you'll just continue to see more of these because of the absence of policy action by the government.
The police still have an opportunity to press criminal charge into Salman Faqiri's death, but it seems that the law enforcement believes that there's two standards, one for us Ontarians and the rest for law enforcement. That opportunity is still there. My family very much is calling for criminal charges against the guards that killed my late brother. But let's start with today. My family is standing here in front of the government, in front of Ontarians, to say we're ready to work with the government. Our door is open. But this door is open because we want to work with you. But you must engage. Ma famille est toujours prêt de travailler avec le gouvernement. Le problème, c'est que depuis 2016, le gouvernement n'a jamais engagé avec ma famille. On est prêt de travailler avec le gouvernement avec les 57 recommandations. Mais si vous toujours ignorez notre famille, on va toujours parler de l'histoire de Suleiman. On s'y concerne, en fait, des choses criminelles concernant la police. La police ils peuvent toujours charger des gardiens de prison pour la mort de Suleiman Faqiri. Mais le problème, c'est que la police pense qu'il y a toujours deux systèmes. Une pour nous, les Ontariens et Canadiens, et l'autre pour leur système. Et c'est ça le problème. Mais on toujours demande responsabilité, une transparence. C'est ça le problème, parce que toujours, il n'existe pas responsabilité et transparence dans le système correctionnel, malheureusement. Of course, of course. Je savais pas